phone's on a speaker, so I'm just going to read what I wrote here. When you drive around town, you see a lot of broken pavement. I would like to think to fix all these spots, it would really be costly. That would only be a temporary fix. Some of the roads only have a seal coat on them, and they will continue to break up. The roads that have asphalt on them in town here are over 40 years old, and they're still holding up. The plan for new pavement would be 8 inches of gravel, a reinforced fabric, and 4 inches of asphalt. This would give us a strong and long-term solution. Maintaining the gravel streets takes time and money. Gravel gets pushed into yards, culverts get filled with gravel and dirt, resulting in poor drainage. Asphalt is cleaner in the summer and also easier to blade in the winter. I think the change shows progress. We have a new fire hall, which is progress. We have new rural water, progress. Paving the streets would be progress. As a small business owner, this community and surrounding communities have been good to me and many others. We need to keep growing or we'll just fade away. Thank you.
Rose? Okay.
I know this is Holy Week, but crucifixion isn't until Friday. Paved streets would improve the value of your property. It would also reduce the dust, which would reduce allergies. Anamoose is known for being a city with clean and neat yards. Most houses are well cared for, but many residents have complained about the dust from traffic. Paved streets would reduce dust. Spring runoff would be less destructive, so yards and basements with paved streets, raking gravel out of the yards in the spring would be eliminated. Anamoose has some great businesses. We want to keep them as well as add new ones. Paved streets would indicate the Anamoose citizens are interested in investing in their own community, thus encourage new businesses and families to invest in Anamoose as well. A number of people hope to have their driveway paved, which would cost less since work is already being contracted in the area. The additional cost of the driveways could be added to that portion of the pavement project. Large numbers and tolls in dollars amount over 20 years for anything can be intimidating and mind-boggling, and can be used to feed negative thoughts. For an example, if a mother were told that she had to cook her family over 70,000 meals in her lifetime, or if a smoker would be told that smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a week would cost over $11,000 in 20 years, or 50 citizens driving to Anamoose for work 5 days a week in 20 years would cost a minimum of $1,250,000, or if you work in Minot 4 days a week over 50 years, 50 citizens would pay $3,600,000. Would people still do it? I mean, you could come up with all sorts of numbers that would be very intimidating if you add them up in 20 years' time. People probably will because they need to make a living. However, budgets are based on annual expenses. 20-year totals are not threatening when broke down into 12-month increments for most people. The paving project would, broken down into 12 months, for this, most citizens would pay less than a can of pop or a cup of coffee per day. And for the businesses on Main Street, the cost is even less. The cost and the interest to borrow money to complete this project will never be less. If there was no investment on anybody's behalf, everybody would love paved streets. I know that right now with all the negative things going around, if there were a vote taken, people would be intimidated by some who can speak louder and more boisterous. They would change their votes just for the fear of being looked down upon or criticizing for having an opinion of their own. There has been grant money sent out to some individuals in this community over the amounts of $5,000, and you paid for it, and that was just for one person. So when it comes to having your property fixed and investing in your property, and it's going to be something that improves your town, if you break that down over 20 years period, it's not going to come out to what we've given some individuals alone, but we're a community that supports each other. So I hope we can stick together no matter what the outcome. We are a good community and we care about each other.
Thank you, Rose. Anybody else? Buck?
I have the smallest amount of things to say, and most of my thunder's already been taken. But I'm supposed to speak about vacant lots and how some people have bought them and kept them for many, many years, and for what? It's probably so somebody else can't have them. We know of some who have bought them to keep for family members, could be grandchildren, with the understanding that maybe they will come back here sometime down the road and build a house there. In the meantime, maybe an extra assessment on paving might be just the right nudge for these people to sell these lots, and somebody else could come in and build a house there and build up the city. The city needs to be updated, like a business or a farm, or else if it isn't, it'll run down and have no value at all. Same as for cars. You buy a different one now, don't you? And the same is for houses and lots. If they're not kept up, painted, lawns mowed, the values of others around them also lose value. The same is for streets. Improve them, and the value of all houses and lots will increase in value. Some have personal pride in their houses and their lots and their cars. We also need to have pride in our community.
Good evening to everybody. I hope you all recognize me. A lot of times I come down here, I'm in a dress and playing Anna. So tonight we're doing a little business. I've just got a couple of things that I want to point out. You know, it seems like a lot of the towns our size already have pavement, and maybe we're just trying to catch up. But as it was pointed out, pavement, you know, should increase the value of our property, and I would guess it's probably going to be better gas mileage on our vehicles in town. Wear on the tires. It's got to be better than on a gravel road. And it's easier to walk on. You know, mothers with strollers that are pushing their kiddies around, it's going to look a lot better on pavement. The kids pulling a wagon, pulling that gravel and by golly, you got to have chains on. But and the same thing with the kids with their bikes. It's just going to be a lot better for them. And it was pointed out the dust. You know, the washing of the vehicles. Might not be quite as much with pavement. Speaking of washing clothes, you know what happens when you're driving by somebody's house and our North Dakota wind is there. You know, you can't see the house almost because of the dust. Well, that goes on the clothes, and of course the missus is, sometimes the guys too, I suppose, are a little disgusted. Streets were, no, that was already brought up already, as far as the truck traffic. Anamoose, we used to live in Las Vegas, and of course there you walked around with a concealed weapon, and you locked your windows and doors every night, and you know, there was so many killings. I think it was on a quota every week there. But anyway, coming back here and living in Anamoose, we thoroughly enjoy it. I'm an old farm boy, and of course I wanted to live on a farm, and my wife said, no, we're going to live in Anamoose. And hello, I'm just glad that she talked me into it. Also, Anamoose is really a choice location for being a bedroom community. You know, we can have people move in here and work in Harvey, Rugby, Valvo, probably even Minot. I remember one time when we were here, I was living in the area and driving to the base from here. Now that's quite a ways, but anyway, it was brought up as far as the old pavement that we have now. If it it keeps getting worse and worse and worse. Is it just going to go back to gravel? And that's something we need to be looking at. I think the bottom line is, guys and gals, if we don't want to invest in our own community, do we really expect people to come in and invest in it? Anyway, that's my take on it. Thank you for listening.
Kevin Horniman, I don't know if you guys know him, but him and his wife Nancy and their grandson Kyle live right across the street. They bought the beauty shop, and he wanted to be here tonight. He's very much in favor of the pavement, but he couldn't make it, so he sent me this email today. Okay, sorry, I will not be able to make tonight's meeting. My business in Arizona will keep me here until the end of the week. If you could pass my thoughts on at the meeting, I would sum them up by saying, as new members to the community, we are more interested in having services such as paved roads, public parks, recycling programs, or access to the county sheriff and low taxes. For us to live and invest in a town, we are looking for a sense of a growing or stable community. I am quite sure that in the past, many towns in North Dakota that have ceased to exist voted not to use tax money for a railroad spur, a sewer, a water project, or a new school, only because they feared higher taxes. The reality is that without the maintenance of our paved roads, our town will be one step closer to becoming the next Lincoln Valley with its very reasonable taxes. If we want to attract families with children to our school, we need to invest in our future. And I just wanted to add one thing in that. I guess make us proud to be from Anamoose, where progress has been important and is important to us, and we're willing to pay for it. Thank you.
I came to this town in '89, lived out on the West Coast for 19 years. North Dakota is my home state. I've liked this town. I think the people are a fair, decent town. I don't mind the gravel streets. I don't mind a little dust there. I think that's part of the game when you're in a small town, especially in North Dakota. Now, I don't see why we're really having this meeting tonight, because it appears to me, in all fairness, the noes have won the election. I can't understand how this ballot came into being, because it looks very improper to me, and I brought that to some authority in the higher government, and I'm going to have this thing challenged.
Yes.
You can have a ballot that doesn't say yes or no on it. I'm almost 80 years old. I'll be 80 years old next month. I've been living on the West Coast, I said earlier, and I've never seen anything in the government of this nature. It to me is abhorring. It is unthinkable. It looks like a sham from the very beginning. And I'm going to look at this and I'm going to contest it. Now, I don't see where that ballot is proper. Secondly, if you want to count to be made by people vote or by square footage vote, I don't see where in the North Dakota Century Code, and I've looked it up, sections 16 and 40, where you can vote by any other means than by people vote. I just don't understand what they're doing, and I'd like to have someone explain on this city council how in Hades you ever got to use square footage for a vote. The next question I want to pose upon the council here in the city, if the people wanted to remain neutral, and I've talked to two people already that have, does that count as an automatic yes vote? You can't be neutral, I don't think, if that letter is sent out, if you don't respond. Thirdly, as is required by North Dakota law, has there been a canvassing and tally of the vote? Certified, I should say. If not, are you going to have one? So in summation, I want to say this. Number one, this is a questionable vote ballot. Secondly, the property surface method is very questionable. Thirdly, we need to make this election ballot or vote count ballot canvassed and certified by a certain certified canvassing board. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, if nobody else, the council will take all this discussion and mull over it.
Frank, can I ask just one
Hey,
question?
Frank, can I just add something quick? You know what, I have no personal vendetta against anyone. Frank's my neighbor, I love the guy. If somebody went and attacked him, I'd beat the daylights out of the guy. Guarantee you. I like all these people. I don't have a beef with any of them, I really don't. It's my process, man, it's the process. And this gentleman right here just nailed it home. If we believe in the democracy and we believe in real government, let's go about this the correct way. Do the vote the correct way, like this individual said, so that we can have faith. And you know what? And if that comes out, that 55% vote for it, you know what? I'm going to pay it just like you guys are. But it should be done the correct way. And the way, and within the North Dakota state statutes and laws. That's my point.
Okay, Brent, you got something?
Yeah, you know, when we met the other night, I think the whole deal was what they said now. They didn't like the voting. You know, they thought it kind of got ran through fast. It wasn't very understanding. You know, the envelope came from Lowell instead of City of Anamoose. There was a lot of confusion with it. Number two, what a lot of these people here were upset with is the board. Them numbers I gave you, we never heard the numbers from you guys. You know, there was nothing. You guys could not give us any information. And that's why a lot of people were upset on this whole deal. You sent us a letter that said this was your assessment, and that's it. But there was nothing else on you know, who's going to pay the city stuff, you know, what's going to happen with this, how much is the city going to throw in on this, or whatever. It was just boom. And I think that's where a lot of the animosity and stuff came toward you guys, because there just was not enough information on this project. That's just plain and simple. That's the way it was. And I think if there would have been, you know, this project is big. And okay, in June you guys started it, and how many people showed up? 30 people to get you guys going on this out of 183 owners, okay? Only 30. And that night when we had the meeting, I asked them guys, how many of you guys knew something was going on? I didn't know it. Nobody raised their hand in that room. So it had been kind of an under table, not from you guys, but cafe talk, you know. They're talking about pavement, let's go up. There might have been a notice, maybe in the post office, one in the bank. That's about it. But we had 50 people there and nobody raised their hand. Now, I don't know if they're lying or not, but I got to take it to their word. So that kind of started, and then all of a sudden we come from June to all of a sudden we get our letters, and we got a week to do this, and it all happened in 7 or 8 months. And to us, this project this big should take a little longer than that. There probably should have been more research on looking for grant monies, if there was any. I mean, there probably ain't. You know, we deal with grants with the fire department, it sucks, it's just the way it is. But our group thinks there should have been a lot more research done into this project before it was taken to a vote. And I think if there would have been numbers given to your voters and stuff, you might have had some people that voted no voting yes. I know you would have. But I think it's just lack of communication. That's why everybody's mad at each other in this town right now. Just lack of communication. That's all it is.
Okay, thank you. Matt, do you have anything to say about, as far as the century code, what that spells out?
Yeah, I can go through that again. Special assessment process in North Dakota is legislated. So Chapter 40 of the Century Code talks about special assessments. The process of why the letter is why you only protest if you're against it, that is legislated by the state. That is not something the city has the authority to change. That's the process the legislators in Bismarck have determined that you should follow. So you may think it is not the way you'd like to see it, but that is the process that the state legislature has put in place. You can research Chapter 40 of the code. We've spoken with a bond attorney in Bismarck to help us with these proceedings, to help prepare the resolutions that the council's gone through, the timing process. The timing process, you publish in the newspaper. That has to be 30 days out. Then within, I think it's a 10-day period, the letter has to go out before the protest hearing. Those are minimum dates, maximum dates set by the legislature in the Century Code. So for those reasons, that's the process that was followed. And it's not something that the city council could have altered, or they would have been not in compliance. So to stay in compliance, you have to follow the steps in the Century Code. So that's the reason for that.
What code says that you can do the vote by footage?
That is in Chapter 40 of the Century Code.
Same chapter?
And that is, we asked that question twice of the bond attorney before the protest hearing to make sure it was on a square footage basis.
So we already have an attorney working for us and everything, huh? An attorney that's on retainer or what? I mean,
No.
or you just call this guy and he just does it for free?
To this point, yes. Don't, that is not, I'm telling you the honest truth
I
here.
haven't seen, there's only one engineering group here. How come there isn't like 2 or 3 bidding on it? I mean, does somebody have a connection with you here, or what? I guess I'm just curious, because there's
I can tell you,
reason the problem here.
I can tell you from my perspective, the process that started. About a year ago, City Council
No, my
had talked about this.
my question was,
I'll get
there
to
are
that.
other engineering groups.
I'll get to that. Talked about street paving. Old Engineering has done engineering work in Anamoose for several years. So they contacted us. To this point, I've told them that we have some fees into our surveying end of things, and that's all that we will charge them if this project does not go through. I have a lot more time and dollars invested in it than what just the surveying is. But I came in with the council in good faith and told them we'd work with them, try to get something so they could bring it to the public.
Should it have been put out on bids?
No, that's generally not how it's done.
Has any financing or funding or any bonds been released on this project as of yet?
No,
Okay.
no. So to this point, the council has a few dollars into it from my perspective, just from the survey. That's the only thing that's been done to this point, dollar-wise.
Thank you, Matt. I guess the council will now think over your thoughts and your statements, and I guess if they have any questions, they can ask a question. So we'll go into a little bit of discussion right now between the council.
Comparison on that far as what's it going to cost us to put those streets all back in the gravel and to maintain that gravel. I mean, you've got, look at operations for blading too, same difference, maintaining of that. We're going to have to do a comparison study on all that.
Well, I don't know why the paved streets got now, I don't know, even the ones that are broke, I don't know why you want to put it back to gravel. Friday night when we talked, that was the main thing too. If you need to fix these roads, you know, people probably willing to help what we have.
Speaking to the mic,
For sure.
loud.
the council's wondering about the paved streets that we have now. And Friday night at that meeting, we talked about that a little bit. We don't want to see the paved streets that we have now destroyed, turned into gravel. We'd like to see them fixed. And if we got to be assessed a little bit for that, then fine. That's what we talked about Friday night.
Yep.
Or if the city's got money to seal, you know, they thought maybe they had money to seal, maybe they can use that money to fix these streets.
There you go.
Well, the roads that are broken up were never paved in the first place. You know, so we can spend money on fixing that. You're gonna get a hole in there, trucks and stuff, and those spots are just gonna keep on growing. You know, just from back and forth. I've seen it happen before. So, you know, you gotta remember they were never paved in the first place, and the roads that are paved aren't broken up. You know, so really you're gonna be throwing money back into the same hole, and are we gonna be anywhere closer to solving the problem? You know, it's a hard decision. What do? Do you stick money back into it? Years down the road, we stick money back into it again, or try to better it some way? I don't know. You know, there is no easy answer. So, or throw it back into gravel and go backwards. Probably. I don't know. You know, I don't know.
Just a quick question. Again, criticism implies a solution. So if I've criticized, and I also might be able to help you see the solution. My question is this: has there been nothing set in place for the repair of those? I mean, when we put it in or anything like that? And I don't know. I'm just asking it. And that might help you guys out. You know, where did it start out? You know, where did we stop taking care of it, or did we, or is it just, you know, natural attrition that's busting up? We understand that, but you know. I guess, you know, is there something in place with our tax system that we can draw from that and get those roads that are already, you know, concreted? Can we get them re-concreted, I guess, is a question I pose. I don't know.
I have a question. I don't know if this is possible, but I'm wondering if those two access roads into town, instead of chip and seal to repair them, if they could be paved. I know paving companies don't like to come in for a small project like that, but if those could be paved and the assessment put across all of the lots in town.
Yeah, we'd agree with that.
Sure.
To fix what we have instead of adding more to it. I think we'd all agree.
That could be one answer of how to fix them.
Well, and that might be part of the solution too. Maybe we start there. I don't know. Again, I throw it out as food for thought. You know, that I don't have all the answers, and I didn't come here claiming I do. But I also know I'm a big enough person to know that if I'm going to criticize something, I also want to be in the part of the process to help it out. You know.
I got a question. Have we exhausted all avenues of looking for rural grants for these roads? Has the council looked into that at all? For getting grants for the rural community, rural opportunities and stuff? They give grants for this type of stuff. So, did anybody look into that?
Luann, we have, as a matter of fact, the principal from high school called me, and he has a brother who apparently is works with the city or is an engineer or whatever. And the only grant money that's available right now is for oil impacted cities. And it's only available if like it's a road that's being used to haul water or that type of an issue. And McHenry County, I believe, got a total out of don't quote me on this number, but it was like maybe $4 million. McHenry County got a total of $25,000. Maybe, Bill, you can verify that or not.
We're still waiting for it.
Yeah, they're still waiting. But the money's already all been spent. And I'm not, you know, as auditor, I know that one of the questions that the council has struggled with is how do we keep on repairing some roads when we've got other people who are saying, why don't you do my road? So that's the real question that they have in their mind, And it's an honest and fair question. How do I go down and spend, to probably do those roads that go in and out of town? And that's how the project originally got started. We wanted the roads that led to Anamoose to be paved. So the first time we did that, we basically took about as low a cost method as we could, which was putting down some gravel, putting on a chip and seal coat, or a seal coat and then chipping that. And like out past my place, that road was done, I believe, like in maybe 1990. So that road has been there for 20 years. And where you don't have the breakups, and that, I don't believe that road was ever recoded. It was recoded down past the lagoon, but not all the way up the hill. So is it, Stan Martin would certainly appreciate it if it was chipped and sealed again. But is that fair to the people who live in Anamoose who would like to have their street fixed?
Nobody seemed to mention that before. Nobody objected
But
to
wouldn't
it.
it?
Yes, but the city paid for everything before out of its coffers. And so that's an honest, that's the decision that gets hard to make as a council. And I know that they wrestle with that question, because there's other people who say, yeah, well, you did the one down to the school, but, why didn't they do that a block further south so it would have gone by my place? Is that not that's what these people are fighting with. How do we keep putting the same money in the same roads and the other people don't get that paved road?
But you're gonna have to put money into all the roads. The ones we're not taking care of now, we're gonna do a bunch of paving and then maybe that won't be taken care of. All that sounds very crappy.
Well, and that's what they're struggling with. How do you do that?
Yeah, but wouldn't it look a lot better for the city and the community of Anamoose if we took care of the roads that came into town before we worry about spending money on something else?
And that's what your council's trying to decide, or do we try to treat everybody fair and give them all a paved road?
It would be all fair if we're all willing to put in. Who wouldn't be willing to put in to pay for fixing what we already have? Right?
Yep.
Well, it brings me back to the point. So what you're saying basically is there was no succession plan to redo those roads again, and not by anybody's fault. It probably, after 20-some years, people forget. How many city maintenance people have we had since then? 3 or 4? Things get lost in the process. And no one's pointing a finger. Well, geez, it's Brent Winiger's fault now that them roads are breaking up. Nah, it's not Brent Winiger's fault.
No.
You know what? That's okay, though, to say, well, we didn't have a plan, too, and let's start working on it. If that's the case, great. Let's move on. Let's move on as a group, and let's make these things better. But I think you have a good point. We're almost putting the cart before the horse.
Mm-hmm. Fix what we have first.
Okay, the council has heard all your comments. They've got a tough decision ahead of them. I think we need to give them time to think this over.
I got one question, Frank.
Hey, Frank?
Okay. What's that 4 inches?
Wait. You got too many.
Okay, Matt.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay, there's 4 inches of pavement. Okay, can that withstand, you want to, for instance, move a large house in? Is that going to withstand the pressure on that, or are they going to break it up?
The thickness of the pavement is part of the structure of the street. The biggest structure of the street is the gravel underneath. If you want to move tractor trailers, houses, those sorts of things on your street, no, 8 inches of gravel and 4 inches of pavement is not going to support that.
Nobody can move a house into this town because it's going to break up the pavement, right?
Not to say one trip's going to break it up, but I would not recommend you doing that because it's putting a big load on the pavement. It's going to shorten the life of the pavement. Correct.
So if I want to move my old helm out and bring a new one in, I might not be able to do that because it's very.
It all depends, on how many axles you have on that trailer, bringing that in. The more you spread that weight out, you need to look at the load per axle.
And you said that was 5 tons per axle.
Luann, you had a question?
Oh, yeah. Why do you just take the one bid? Why don't you get more bids on this product? I mean, you know, when I go look for a car, I'm gonna look around and see where I get the best for my money. So why did you just pick one?
We haven't bid the project, Luann. This is just an estimate.
You do give the bids out to other people too? You will do that?
As far as the paving project?
Yeah.
Yes, we will.
I mean, you don't-
If we approve the project, if we say the project goes forward, then the project will be bid out.
Okay.
Who will do the bidding? Who will build the contracts?
I think the engineer does that, right? Yeah.
Right.
So what you're saying is you're stuck with old engineering to do all the contracts and set everything up. And
No,
we're just tickled
we're not
pink
stuck
with
with
old
anybody.
engineering's work already.
We're not stuck with anybody. We worked with Wold Engineering for years. I mean, the city has used Wold Engineering for as long as I can remember.
I understand that.
And we've had good success with them, so I guess that's why we've stuck
Well,
with them.
this sure doesn't look like good success.
Okay. Like I said, the council has a lot to think about.
Well, you can't blame the engineer. The engineer came here, he did what he was supposed to do, and all he did was give us the estimates.
They're not blaming the engineer, what they're
No,
asking is why
some-
there was not 2 different engineers for 3 different engineers with bid costs.
Because
They're not- that's-
this is
But then all
just, Pat,
costs-
this is
at
just
all
an
costs.
estimate. This is just an estimate, Pat.
I realize.
And the city has used
Brent,
Wold when I was mayor and
When you
beyond.
take a contract, Brent, you have to have not only one engineering company, you have to have 3 or 4. That is just common sense and not bench. You're gonna get the.
And they can do that. This is just an estimate, people. It's
If
all
we're
it
gonna
is.
shop around for that car, I mean, when we shop around maybe for the salesperson.
Okay? We should vote, we've been told we should vote before June 1st. Why? To stay within the timelines of the century code, I think. Is that correct?
I don't know if there's a strict time frame, but he just felt that you don't want to stretch it out too far past the vote.
And this is the bond attorney. Bond attorney advised that.
Right, of course, they're gonna push that.
But you've talked about so many things, and you brought up so many things, and we need to consider all of those things. And so I can't see how we're going to be voting anytime soon, with us meeting only once a month.
Will you make it a public information on when you will be voting so everybody can show up?
If you go to each one of their meetings, you know, you can find out what's going on.
All of our city council meetings are
Are open
public.
to the public.
They're open to the public, yeah.
So be advised.
Okay, so this issue will be tabled at this time. Do we have any other business to come before the council? Any other new business?
Well, just, who's going to do the research and what are we going to research? Put all the questions together and that we want people to, you know, that we want answers to and all that sort of stuff. Work needs to be done this month before this meeting.
Yeah, I got a question.
Glenn?
Did you not table it till after Measure 5 votes?
Yeah, but they're gonna make financing section.
So you can't vote till after that?
Well-
Yeah, that's what we did.
No. When we did that motion, if this process goes forward, we're gonna table it then. But the process hasn't gone forward yet. We can't go forward until we decide, yes, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do this process for sure. And we could say tonight, yes, we're gonna go forward with this project, and we could do the next steps but it's all gonna come to a halt anyway, because we're gonna wait till after, see what happens with measure 2.
Okay. I got a question.
Jeff?
Why aren't you guys going by the old Sears place all the way up to the highway with that pavement? Why are you guys stopping at Joe Winter's lots there for?
I think what happened there was,
That road goes all the way out there, half-ass paved now.
Right.
Enough. Why wouldn't you go all the way out to the highway with it?
I think what happened there was, it would all fell on just 1 or 2 landowners there. The cost.
So you're just gonna leave that road go to heck then? Not doing anything with it then, or what?
Well, we'll have to do some upkeep on it, yeah.
There's several property owners that have quite a bit of paving in their property too. They all have to pay.
Those are all issues we have to, those are all issues we'll have to visit. I mean, we'll have to look at all that.